Lining up first and second, McLaren were the favourites after a dominant display in qualifying on Saturday. They ran a different strategy to Verstappen, who was chasing, but really, Owain, was there ever a chance that they weren't going to finish where they have done?
I don't personally think so. I think that Spain is such a sort of it's a chassis orientated track, and it seems that McLaren have completely ironed out at least not getting taken by surprise on undercuts and things like that, and they just seem to have be able to build the right kind of gap where you earn yourself that one lap of breathing space. To the point where it didn't really matter. It didn't even matter that when Verstappen made that third stop, potentially trying to pull a sort of Spain 2021, I think, or Hungary 2019 that Mercedes did with the second stop to force Verstappen himself into a corner in that time. It didn't really work on McLaren whatsoever because they did seem to have the best tyre wear, as we thought they would going in, and the track is one that suits them. It's medium and high speed corners at this point, almost all of it. The slowest speed corner on the track is probably, maybe turn 10 or quite possibly, turn 11. We don't have the sort of chicanes that were in the track before. And as such, it's just kind of played into the direct strengths of the McLaren and means that they do just have, that small advantage that means that they can pull up gaps when they need to and, run the race from the front. It wasn't, I guess, sort of even a question, even at the safety car restart, whether it was going to be an issue for them. I mean, obviously Norris was taken advantage of on the start, but from that point onwards, he managed to get himself back into second place, and at that point, that was it. There's nothing that anyone could really do, and they sort of raced away at the front. I mean, the only thing for Norris is that he sort of secured into that second spot just by the overtake at the start that put him, held him up for a bit and put him so far back. And right now, it seems that Piastri and Norris are equally matched enough that there was no way that they could have he could have made back the difference both on tyre wear and just in the time gap itself.
Yeah, we did see Lando start to close in on Oscar Piastri over the course of a couple of laps, but then once they'd kind of got through a bit of traffic and it was approaching more the point where Norris was going to be stopping, we saw Oscar pull that gap back out, and I think it just kind of showed that he was in a position to be able to save a bit more of his tyres and then just put in a couple of laps when he needed to just go, nah, mate, you can stay behind for a couple more laps. But Dev, these flexi wing changes I mentioned earlier, they were brought in this weekend, but they don't really seem to have nerfed McLaren as a couple of teams might have been expecting. Have the FIA misunderstood the cause of their performance, or is it just that McLaren were that good?
I think that the FIA, truth be told, have taken Red Bull's intimations about their concerns about McLaren's wings being illegal a bit too seriously, because it was Red Bull, first of all, who had posed their doubts about McLaren's wings legality, whether it is front or rear. But we have to understand that what was tried, what was the attempt that was made. We have to understand that. So everybody wanted to create a level playing field. And for that, the regulative directed that the wings should now pass a deflection test, which measures the leeway of their flex. And this was reduced from 15 mm to around 10 mm, if I'm right. But whether it is 10 mm or whether it is 9.5 mm, I think McLaren have produced daring and a world championship winning car, and that is clear. And today was an excellent exhibition of their cornering speed as well as the massive straight line speed with which they have thwarted the plans of their closest rival so far, which is the Red Bull, in particularly the Red Bull of Max Verstappen. So it's kind of a tight hit back to their critics. And what a better way to win this race to be than to actually capture a 1 and 2. And unless I'm very much mistaken, when Oscar Piastri and Norris locked out the front row, it was the best possible result at this particular venue at Catalonia, home to the Spanish Grand Prix, for McLaren since 1998. So this was an excellent result. And there was absolute consistency, which was maintained after the qualifying by delivering a comprehensive team result for McLaren. And once again, a very, very legendary, iconic British constructor is back to the top. And understandably so, the powers that be who've been dominating the roost, who've been ruling the roost, seem to be concerned. Probably the ice is thinning beyond their feet, and they have only themselves to blame. But Piastri and Norris couldn't be happier.